Wirral Radio, Fifth Harmony, Sledgehammer. Good morning. Very good morning to you. It is Wirral Radio. It's Nick Fair with you through till 12 o'clock today on your dial on Wirral Radio 92.1 FM, DAB and online at wirralradio.co.uk. Thanks for the breakfast crew. They'll be back nice and early tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock here on Wirral Radio. And today, it is Thursday. And I'd like to welcome back into the studio. We have Paul from Advanced Business Vision and Donal from Morecrofts Solicitors. Good morning, chaps.
Morning, Nick.
Good morning, Nick. Good to be back again, thank you.
Have you had a great week?
Yeah, all good. Apart from the weather, of course.
A bit of a change out there. It's sunny now, not too bad.
It's always the way. I'm wearing here.
Yeah, that's it. Now, last week we covered loads and loads of topics, and this week we have a few listeners. I've got a few questions for you.
Excellent.
Of course, we're talking about business and legal within businesses, and right through to CEOs and chairmans and stuff like that. I've got a message, an email from Tony in West Kirby. He says, I've got a local engineering company and I'm looking to expand my business. I have a few good customers and some that buy as and when from me. How do I grow my business, and is it so competitive and prices are being sort of discounted? He sort of mentions that, Paul.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I think that really is a classic with businesses. I think what he's saying that he's got a few good customers and some that buy from him on an as and when basis. And that key question is, how does he grow it? Well, he's clearly got a classic 80-20 rule there. That basically means that 20% of his customers are providing him with 80% of his business. That's not a bad thing, because really, I think it's about looking at your good customers and digging deeper into those good customers, not wider. Yeah. You can fragment, and by fragmenting, you don't know what your customer base is going to be like from a point of, what do they want? Can they pay you? Are they financially secure? What are the risks involved? Whereas if you're dealing with a group of customers, and let's say that 20%, and they are, in inverted commas, good customers, hopefully you've got a relationship with them. So the premise would be to say, well, add value, see what else you can sell to them, see what else you can bring to that customer base, and build a package of products and services. Now, as an engineering company, I'm presuming Tony's got widgets, equipment, products that maybe he is engineering for that end user customer. So really it's about building that relationship and really building a rapport and seeing what else they can do, and look at what the competition is selling into that client, that customer, and seeing if there is a way that they can maybe do that. And Tony said it's competitive and prices are being discounted. Well, that's the way of the world, isn't it? There's always somebody going to offer a lower price than you in whatever we're doing. And I would counter that by saying, don't sell on price, sell on value. Make sure that you are at what I would call not being price reactive, but you're being value. You're selling on service, and make sure you've got and having regular discussions with your customers. Don't wait till they call you saying, can I have another box of widgets, please? And then you put the phone down. Remember last week, I hope you remember, I mentioned transactional selling versus relationship selling and building of those relationships. Transactional is where I sell you a widget, you say thank you very much, and we hardly do any business again, or maybe on an as and when. Whereas if we're building a relationship, we're getting to understand what we need from each other. I need the service to be on a Monday morning, 8 o'clock, I need delivery. I need the pricing structure to be within this band, and I'll help you build your business. That's the difference. And I would say that's the key, Nick. That's the key. Look at those customers and dig deeper.
Good question. I hope that answers your question there, Teddy from West Kirby. I've got a question for Donal today. We've got Joe, and she says, there are 3 shareholders in our company, and we want to ensure that shares can only be sold to one of the other shareholders and not to outsiders. We want this to be the case even when one of us dies. However, we want to ensure that our next of kin are adequately compensated for those shares. And what do you recommend? Donal?
Okay, that's a very typical question, actually, Joe. I think the first port of call is to actually look at the company's articles of association. These are the articles which are created when the company was first set up. They should automatically provide for what we call preemption rights. That is, if a shareholder wishes to sell, they must first offer their shares to the other existing shareholders. If the articles don't say that, then really the best way of protecting things and making sure it goes forward as you wish is to have a shareholders agreement, and that has a legal document. It's drawn up. It regulates how the shareholders must operate, and particularly deals with the issue of the sale of shares, so that it can provide that the shares must be sold to the other shareholders, and also to deal with their point about making sure that her next of kin are adequately compensated. They can provide that the company's accountant or an independent accountant can value those shares, and that can ensure then that the next of kin will get adequate compensation for the shares when they're sold.
That's good information, though. Donal. Say, for instance, a question here. You've got Dave. We are a supplier of audio parts, and we have some terms of business for supplying goods. Quite often, the buyer claims that in their terms of purchase, which is prevail, that what can they do about this?
All right, Dave. This is a very, very common situation. It's called the battle of the forms. A buyer puts in their purchase order. They've got terms and conditions on the back of there. Then you supply the goods. Or in fact, you may actually provide a confirmation order first of all, and you've got your terms and conditions on that. And there may even be a delivery note, but that could be post-contract and therefore not enforceable, as would an invoice. So you do have this common battle of whose terms prevails, and it's normally who gets in last before the contract's actually completed succeeds. The best way of avoiding any of those disputes is actually to get the agreement of the other party in writing that your terms prevail, that your terms take priority, and that's obviously should be done at the outset rather than after the supply of the auto parts.
Well, that's fantastic. Yeah, that's great information that you're giving out today, guys. Has opened up loads of light bulbs in my head as well, sitting here listening to all these wonderful questions and answers. It's absolutely amazing stuff. Paul
Yes.
here from Advanced Business Vision. We've got a question here. I've no time at all during my working day to step back, as you said last week. What do you do? Hang on a minute. What do I do, and when there is not enough hours in the day? That's a good one, isn't it, for everyone?
Absolutely, and I totally agree with that. I think in the early stages of any business, there's just never enough time in the day, and even when you are an established business, there are never enough hours in the day.
There isn't.
And you end up taking work home with you, or you just start panicking because your workload is increasing and you just can't get to it. I think what we said last week was, you need to take a step back and try, and the key word here is work on the business, not in it, although you have to work in it to make it functional and to get that revenue. But there's got to come a time when you have to step back, and the key to that is really me asking a couple of questions of this caller, this person who's emailed in, by saying, how many people are in your business? Is it just you? Can you delegate? If you can't delegate, why can't you delegate? Is there a skills gap? Because a lot of business today, owner manage, maybe a couple of people, maybe 3, 5, whatever.
Yeah.
They work on that business day in, day out, but necessarily they have not got that skill to do that step back, that art of stepping back, which is where we come in, basically. It's about investing time to work on the business. You've got to take that time out, whatever that time may be. You've got to take that time. There's no quick answer.
There isn't.
There's no quick answer.
No.
It's about think, plan, do. Don't knee jerk.
No.
If you knee jerk, it's no good.
No good.
No good. And a lot of businesses do that on a day-to-day basis because that's the way they do it, and they have to do it because that's what their business dictates to them. Try not to let your business dictate to you. You try to spin that and you dictate to your business. Very difficult, but good luck.
Well done.
If I can just add to that as well, I agree with everything that Paul said, but I think the reality is that many businesses are actually too engrossed in getting on with what they're doing, and they're actually wasting their time because they're actually selling the wrong service or product to the wrong market and so on, and may not be actually achieving any profits. It's a very wise investment just to take a few hours out. That's all it takes, really, to stand back and say, is this really the target audience I want to reach? Am I supplying the right product, the right service, and so on? Very wise investment.
And I think a lot of companies will also look at that from a cost point of view. I can't afford to take that time out of the business. Well, a small amount of time invested in doing what Donal and I have just said will reap rewards down the line. It really will. And if you haven't got that skill to do that, stand back and look at your business, find somebody who has. It's not hard, that's the way to do it. But invest in your business is what we're saying. I think invest correctly in your business.
It's quite weird because I was looking last year about online about certain businesses and stuff, and if you set up a small business or a big business, and the questions were, as you say there, especially competitive wise, is what's the market you're going in with the product you're going to start selling or use, either online or in your area. Do your homework, do your surveying.
We said this last week, didn't we, as part of the business planning process. And a lot of people, when I say business plan, they glaze over and go, here he goes again. But it's real. If you don't do a little bit of planning or a lot of planning, how the heck do you start? Everybody may say, I've got a fabulous idea, I'm going to go and borrow some money from the bank or money from an inheritance or whatever, some savings. They plough it into a business and off they go. 12 months later, if they're lucky, there's a problem.
Brilliant. Paul from Advanced Business Vision and Donal from Morecrofts Solicitors will continue with you in a moment.
Wirral Radio Daytime, brought to you by Car Farm Garden Centre, a growing shopping experience on the A553 to Hoylake.
A true home should reflect the personality of its owner.
Beautiful. A little time, beautiful South. Met those people when I was in London long time ago. That's another story. But today's story is fantastic. We've got Paul from Advanced Business Vision in the studio with us and Donal from Morecrofts Solicitors. And we're just having a little chat off there, which is always very nice to have a nice welcome chat in the studio. I like to entertain people, even though we're not entertaining the listeners when a piece of music's on, but it's all well and good as well. Don't forget this morning, if you've got any questions for this particular slot or even next week's Thursday slots with Paul and Donal, don't forget it's studio@wirralradio.co.uk. That's the email to send your questions to. Anything business, anything to do with as I say, business or legal side of business. And I find them very, very interesting because, as I say, last Thursday I asked Paul and Donal as we were going through the door when they finished the show some personal questions which was fantastic, lovely. So there we go, studio@wirralradio.co.uk, and we'll get those questions in for the guys to answer to you. Now, Donal, I've got a question here. I have developed a new website app, and I want to make sure that I am compliant with the data protection laws and the e-commerce laws that I have read about. I also want to make sure that the website is used properly and protected from misuse. Can you help on this, Donal, as well?
Yes, indeed. It's again, it's something that most websites and apps need to have, and it's terms and conditions. Back to that old horny chestnut. Basically, you want to make sure that any user of the website or your app is signed up to the fact that they're not allowed to introduce viruses into the system or misuse the website in any way, sharing their passwords or usernames and so on. And indeed, on the website side of things as well, you also need to make sure you have what's called a privacy policy, and this tells people who are using the website what you're going to do with their personal information. So are you going to be sharing it with others or selling it? Are you going to store that information off-site, and if so, where, and so on? So as part of that as well, you also have a cookie policy. So, how are you tracking what pages they're going to be visiting, what you're going to do with that information, and so on. It's an absolute legal requirement, and every website app needs to have one. So the best thing to do is, if you're unsure about it, is to go and see a lawyer.
Quite true. Because the cookie thing came about just about the last 12 months, is it? Quite
It's
recently.
a bit longer.
It's a bit longer,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's just got more headlines more recently, but yeah.
Yeah, they started to roll it out. Was it an EU thing that, or was it originally sort of for this country? I can never remember actually. It sort of started and drifted into the country. And
Most things sort of originate from the EU, but in fact we've had a Data Protection Act for quite some time. It's just we're developing things as things go on, and obviously online sales is a huge thing now, and that's where most sales are derived from. So it's absolutely important. Most people logging into a website aren't even aware of the fact that the pages they're visiting, the items that they're buying, are being tracked and used by the retailer to try and sell them new products, or they may even be selling that information to someone else so that they can sell them services. And most people, if they were aware of that, would say, I don't want that. This is my own private information. I don't want it to be shared. So that's why you have to be told what's going on, and then you can decide, I don't want you to do that, I want to opt out, or I'm not going to use your website.
That's another thing with the you require data protection, because obviously some particular sign-ups ask for a phone number, optional, but sometimes people put the mobile in, and all of a sudden you'll get an advertisement come through on your phone saying, if you don't want to, this is a product, blah blah, if you don't want to receive it, send stop back to this text short number. And you think, oh God, see they're all day sending these stop messages back. And obviously there again is a case of people using your information.
Well, again, unsolicited, you haven't asked for them to do this, and that somehow they've got hold of your email or your mobile phone number.
From where we don't know, because that's the way it is.
I mean, there's all sorts of preference services that you can register with to opt out of these things. How effective they are is another issue. But clearly, government has indicated that they're going to try and tighten things up, but that will take time, and these IT guys are very switched on, and they'll always find ways around it, I'm sure.
I mean, obviously, downloading updating my software on my app from a reputable company around the world, when they do an update, we've got this massive update, wonderful stuff, and you've got to read the terms and conditions again. And I know it's important to read the terms and conditions, I must stress that, as you probably will do sitting here today, but you can imagine sort of a certain percentage of people now and again, especially with these apps, and there's a small window or on your phone, and you're trolling through
pages and pages and pages.
Absolutely, they just tick the box at the end and go, boom, I've done that.
That's
and
right,
think they're protected. Not necessarily. Read them.
Need to read them. Sit down.
Well, you should. I'm afraid so.
At your own peril,
Wonderful. And also there's a thing as well, the SSL certificate padlock thing on websites as well, isn't there? That's I mean, obviously they do cookies and stuff, but obviously if you're ordering anything, it's always best to make sure, especially through well-known companies for payment online, they have the padlock key, and then if you click on that, you can get the certificate. Make sure it's a proper certificate.
Bona fide company.
Well, you should always check the banner at the top to make sure that it's green, and also that the page that you or the company you're expecting to be dealing with are there, because as you're aware of phishing, other rogue people out there are actually trying to pretend that they're the company you're dealing with and snatching your personal payment information.
Brilliant. And of course they can actually change, it looks like the company, but they can put a dot somewhere or a slash or a hash.
Very easy, or put an extra S in somewhere.
I mean, there's always cases in the local press and on the news, isn't there, where customers have been ripped off by putting details in fraudulent companies. You've just got to be super careful. Just be careful.
Brilliant. Thank you, Donal. That one's very interesting. I've got a question here, Paul. I'm anonymous. I'm running a gardening and landscaping company here on the Wirral, and I just feel that I am running around chasing everything, making all the phone calls, doing all the admin and doing all the work. As a result, I'm not out there looking for new customers, even though deep down I know I won't be able to manage them. I know I need to keep getting new customers to survive. What do you suggest on that one, Paul?
How long have we got today, Nick? Again, the classic, isn't it? As we said earlier, running around being very, very busy, because that's what you have to do. as I said earlier, it's about looking at your existing customers and what else could you do for them. That dig deeper, not wider scenario. Add some value. Think about lawn care potentially. And forgive me, I don't know what this gardening and landscaping company here on the Wirral actually do.
Yeah.
But think about lawn care. Think about timber care. All those irritating little jobs that never get done by the customer, because all they want to do is sit back and enjoy the handiwork and enjoy a gin and tonic in the sunshine. You know.
That's right. Yes. Yeah.
And another thing, another real opportunity that people miss is look at partnering, collaborating with other companies, like-minded companies. You know, it's just a way of if I can say this, of really pushing those boundaries, rather than thinking of, I need Mr. and Mrs. Jones to ask me to cut the lawn once a week. Think a bit bigger. Maybe get involved with a developer. Whatever. I worked many years ago with a company on the Wirral, which was an interior design company, and they wanted to develop their business, and we looked at a method of doing that, which was contacting local architects and local developers, and really looking at, you know, bringing that open-ended route to market. So you're collaborating, but because you're operating in a specific market for you, you're then widening your net because you're working in a market for them as well.
Right.
And you're cross-selling services, which adds value. So you become a company that can offer more than your original service offering, which is a great way of doing business. It's about, again, developing those relationships, but key again, work a bit smarter, not harder. It's not easy, but it can be done. But it needs that focus, needs that understanding, and needs that focus, and then go and do it.
Brilliant. Great stuff indeed. Don't forget that email again. It's studio@wirralradio.co.uk. If you've got any questions that we've been chatting about today to Paul and Donal, and look forward to hearing from you. We're going to take some music right now. We'll come back with the guys in a moment. This is quite apt, actually, I think. Texas and Summer Sun. It's Wirral Radio. It's Nick Fair with you through till 12 today, and in the studio this morning it's Paul from Advance Business Division and Donal from Morecrofts Solicitors, and we're having another little chat there with a few things, and we've just been talking to Donal. I've got an email in here, Donal. I have developed a new... Oh, sorry, not that one. Sorry, done that one already. My company owns a valuable freehold property, which its main fixed asset, and we are growing the company and trying out new lines of business. But I'm worried about if things don't go to plan, and then our assets may be at risk. Do you have any suggestions on this?
Yes, very sensibly they're thinking ahead and thinking, if this business fails, I don't want my property to be at risk. One of the things they could consider is actually setting up perhaps another company and transferring the property to that company. Obviously it would have to be valued properly, and they pay the proper price for it. But then the other company could therefore be the landlord and let the existing company be the tenant and pay a rent to it and so on, which should hopefully cover the mortgage if they need one. But that would mean then that obviously if the new tenant company failed, the property would no longer belong to it and therefore wouldn't be at risk any longer.
Right, okay, yeah. Yeah, it's also, I have gone into partnership with a friend, and I have known for years our families know each other well and get on like a house on fire. However, a number of people have suggested that we should put a partnership agreement in place. Is this really necessary?
Yes. It is.
Oh, yes.
Well, most partnerships start off with everyone, as this caller said, operating on like a house on fire. But the sad reality is that one of the partners may fall out with the other one, or they may become sick and unable to carry on in the business, and so on. So yes, you do need a partnership agreement, because that will not only set out what percentage of the profits, whatever, is earned by each partner, but it'll also deal with things like if one of them dies or becomes ill, how they're going to deal with the partnership affairs, effectively the other partner buying them out over a period of time. Or if there's a splitting up of the partnership, what's going to happen then? How are they going to deal with winding up the partnership affairs and divvying up the assets after they've paid all of the debts? And of course, the beauty of it is that they can, rather than just, say, dividing up the cash between them, they could actually take the property in lieu of cash, so they don't have to just sell everything. They can simply say, right, well, I'll take that and you take that, and everyone's happier that way.
So, say for instance there was also we had certain agreements, whatever the agreement level was, and as you say, one was ill, couldn't continue, or one didn't really want to do the partnership anymore. Is there nothing to say that someone wants to join in that partnership at some point where they can say, right, that's great, we've sorted you out, but I want to go in partnership with somebody else now to continue this business? Can they still do that?
Not to the original business, no.
No.
If you want to leave that existing partnership and go and set up a new partnership with someone else,
right? Okay,
fine.
Yeah, that's great.
Or if they want to bring in a new partner into the business, again, they will need to update the existing partnership agreement.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah,
it's got to be legal, though.
Absolutely,
it can be done.
It can be done, and must be done.
It must be done. Yeah. Because this is it's like cross the T's, put the dots in, isn't it? If you do all that, do your homework, and it's all about also, as like we're doing here today, you're advising people with these questions people are bringing in. You're advising them on what to do, and like myself last week, you opened up a whole load of sealed a load of tins for me, as you could say, or bottles, because of all the questions I've had over the years, and you need to start up your businesses and run your businesses. It's not about just going out there and go, hi, I want to sell this, I'm going to do it. As you say, you need your terms, conditions, you need your policies, you need your insurances, because
I've been a solicitor for 30 years now, and I often see these disputes arising, and the people don't have agreements in place, so they end up spending tens of thousands of pounds in court costs arguing over something that could easily have been avoided with a simple agreement at the outset.
As we said earlier, a small investment or a relatively small investment at that planning stage pays dividends, because otherwise you're going to be into some sort of major expenditure level should it all go wrong down the line. So great advice from Donal. Great advice.
Because obviously in the end of it, it's going to be, I'm going to take you to court, and I will read the small print.
Exactly.
It is in there. I mean, people moan about small print. I mean, small print, it can be small, but now of course they made small print slightly a bit bigger to read.
Change the font size.
There's another law that got brought in, obviously. Read the small print, and the joke about reading the small print isn't a joke. It's all about reading it. So I think everyone should read the small print and make sure nothing backfires on them. I've got a question for you now, Paul. I've been in business for just over 2 years, and my business is not getting the sales it needs to run and keep going. I'm just about able to pay the bills and wages for me and 3 staff for the next 2 months. Is it too late to do something? If there is, what can I do?
Okay, well, that really does depend on how bad the current trading position is, and we've got no understanding of that from that email. We've got no evidence that this business is actually insolvent or possibly trading insolvent. That's no income to pay expenditure. So I think it really needs a hard look at this. It needs to look at the numbers, and again, remember from last week we said you have to know your numbers if you're in business. Yes, the profit and loss, fantastic. The balance sheet, absolutely fantastic. But if you don't know what the cash flow is, as we said last week, you're in stuck, as this company would appear to be. Cash flow is the king of all of the numbers. You need cash. So I would say look at your immediate essential outgoings. Look at things like, can you pay your wages? And you've said, you may be able to pay to staff for the next 2 months. Maybe you can afford not to pay yourself. In other words, look after your people around you and maybe not take an income yourself. Again, a lot of businesses start up out of an idea, and they go and borrow money, maybe as a remortgage on their house or whatever, a bank loan, whatever it may be. And in the end, they're not getting the sales that will allow them to take an income, so they just take it out of the money pot that has been put in by the money that they've borrowed. 6 months down the line, all that money's gone and the business is going nowhere because they're not doing what they need to do. So look at, can you take, not take an income? Can you maybe sell some stock? We don't know what this business is. Is it making something and stocking it for customers? Has he got assets that he could maybe get rid of? Has he got some stock that he could maybe sell quickly to sort of, offset this situation if the sales are not coming in. And then look at the things like, why are the sales not happening? What has turned around? You say this business has been going for 2 years. Was it going fantastically in the first 6 months? Has there been a change in the market? Has one of your customers migrated to a competitor? We don't know. What's the reason for this? But more importantly, what have you done to address it? Surely this hasn't happened overnight. This has not been a quick thing that's happened. Surely it's been, if he's been looking at his numbers, he would have seen this coming. So what have you done?
Not necessarily, Paul. I mean, often these situations...
Well, I would hope so.
No, I mean, often these situations arise because a major customer has gone bust, owing you a fortune. And it may be that it's coincidental that sales have fallen off because this major customer has gone. And that obviously creates a huge cash flow issue as well.
Absolutely, that would.
A business facing those risks, an underlying viable business who faces those sudden shocks, there are rescue procedures out there for them, such as administration, whereby they can just have a breathing space to reorganise, regroup, and start again. And some guys or other, leaving the debts behind them, obviously the previous assets as well. But it does provide them an opportunity to carry on.
It's called restructuring in a way. It's called restructuring. Look at your business, and I totally echo what Donal says. None of us in business want this, but if a big key account does go, could leave you with a massive hole from a cash flow point of view. They're not going to pay you what they owe you. You've got a serious problem, as Donal says. But don't be disheartened. Don't think, oh my God, it's the end. The question here is it too late to do something, and what do I do? It's not too late. Try and identify the situation. If it is as catastrophic as a major customer going bust, so to speak, on you, go and speak to somebody. Speak to an insolvency practitioner if you're down that line. If not, get someone in with expert skills who can look at your business and say, you need to restructure, you need to do this, you need to do that.
Or even talking to your suppliers and explaining the situation to them and saying, can I have extra credit facility?
Renegotiate terms.
Pay you back over a longer time. And most people are supportive of you if there's a genuine risk for some financial difficulty. Because they want to retain you as a customer. So they will work with you, providing you've done all you can.
You obviously need breathing space. Do everything you can to get that breathing space, but above everything, understand why it's happened, and then look at some turnaround strategy. What can you do to get your business back on track, or maybe even an exit strategy? It's time to pull away and hold your hands up and say, it's not my fault, this is what I need to do. But don't just sit there, bury your head in the sand. Do something about it. Do something about it.
It could be like a bit of a juggling the balls, really. As you mentioned, you might have too much stock, you might have to get rid of some stock, you might have overstock that's causing you to have this problem. And there's a few shops now you can go to and online, and you can buy stuff and it says not in stock, but it'll be delivered on a certain date. So they might it's in the warehouse, it's not there. So the swings and roundabouts.
It's called back-to-back selling, basically. You advertise that you've got product A and B and C. In reality, you've only got product A because you don't want to stock B and C. The demand may not be there. You get a call, I want product B. You call your supplier, I want 10 of product B. They ship it in one day, you ship it out the next. Nice business.
Lovely.
Could get caught out though, but juggling act, as you say.
Brilliant stuff. Well, guys, at this point we are running out of time rather quickly. The hour's gone rather quickly, and very quickly, Paul and Donal, information if anyone wants to get in touch with you through the week about anything sort of personally, have you got any contact details?
We've got a dedicated number which is 0151 668 0363, or we can look at morecrofts.co.uk or advancedbusinessvision.com.
Brilliant stuff. Well, guys, thanks for coming. Paul from Advanced Business Vision and Donal from Morecrofts Solicitors.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you for having us. Next week. Thanks a lot.
Brilliant, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for coming. Cheers. Don't forget also, studio@wirralradio.co.uk. You can send your emails in there and questions for next week. Thanks, guys. Taking us nearer the news. Bit of Stevie Nicks on Wirral Radio, DAB online on 92.1 FM. Rooms on fire.
Somewhere